DC has realized this is a massive voter base in the US. And that's what's really started to make it a bipartisan issue. There's 52 million Americans who've used crypto. We helped fund this C4 called standwithcrypto.org. And they've now had 1.1 million Americans, voters, raise their hand and say, we really care about this issue. We want to elect pro-crypto candidates. That's gotten a lot of people's attention in DC. In some of the early primary races, there were some anti-crypto candidates that were expected to win, and they lost, right? And I know that got a lot of people's attention in DC. It's really the voters that are in a democracy that are going to elect candidates which represent their values. And I think DC is waking up to that.
Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong believes the cryptocurrency industry has become a major political issue in the United States, and politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, are beginning to quickly realize its importance to voters. During a recent discussion with ARK Invest's Cathie Wood at the State of Crypto Summit last Thursday, Brian explained that crypto is not just becoming a bipartisan issue, but one that could significantly impact the outcome of the presidential elections in November, underlining the industry's growing influence in the political landscape. Both parties are recognizing that they need to address this issue, Armstrong said. Crypto's arrived, he added later in the interview. The Coinbase CEO also revealed that he and other crypto executives have been meeting with senators and House representatives from both Democratic and Republican parties in Washington. According to Armstrong, the focus of these discussions is the establishment of clear regulations for the cryptocurrency industry and the enhancement of consumer protection policies. Armstrong added that some of these efforts are beginning to bear fruit, citing the House of Representatives' passage of the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, FIT21, in May. FIT21 seeks to establish a regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies by delineating responsibilities between the more crypto-friendly Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, and the Gary Gensler-led Securities and Exchange Commission. The FIT21 Act sets out a clear regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies. It stipulates that blockchain networks, recognized as functional and decentralized, will fall under the purview of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, while those recognized as functional but centralized will be overseen by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. This distinction was further clarified when Gensler and CFTC Chair Rostin Behnam appeared before a Senate Appropriations Committee to discuss funding for both regulatory agencies last Thursday. When questioned about the CFTC's ability to oversee the cryptocurrency industry, Behnam assured that his agency was well equipped for the task. During his discussion with Cathie Wood, Armstrong noted that all these developments are signs that interesting times lie ahead for crypto and digital assets in the United States. The duo also discussed spot Bitcoin ETFs and increasing institutional interest in the industry. As we bring you clips from the video, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
Well, in the US, probably the biggest obstacle is regulatory clarity.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, the US is a little behind on this. Europe has already passed comprehensive crypto legislation. We've seen most of the G20 is actually already drafting or has implemented crypto legislation. And so there's broadly this recognition that this technology is here to stay. It has incredible innovative potential. We need to make sure we prevent consumer harm, things that happened with other companies and everyone's aware of. And so the US, I just got back from DC, a couple days in DC. I met with 12 or 13 different members of the Senate. The Senate is very eager to move on legislation now after the House passed the FIT21 bill, the market structure bill, with strong bipartisan support. More than 2/3 of the House voted for it. And so the Senate now has a couple of bills being drafted that are hopefully going to turn this into law, whether it's in this Congress later this year or the next Congress. So we've got a lot of work to do there, and it's important that America gets this right. In the absence of that clarity, I probably don't have to tell all of you, there has been a bit of this turf war between the CFTC and the SEC, the two federal regulators. Are these commodities? Are they securities? Our point of view is that the tokens, underlying assets are commodities. There could be an investment contract or something like that on top of it that is an actual security. Like if a company is going to raise money, that's a security. There should be a path to register those, broker-dealers that can trade them. And we'd like to work with the SEC to make that happen as well. But if we don't have Congress step in and act, the lack of clarity is just going to be weaponized and not allow the industry to thrive onshore.
And how about obstacles then in the rest of the world? What do you see? Is there a quicker take-up or embracing of this technology and these commodities around the world?
Well, there's about 10 markets around the world where Coinbase has set up local operations, and each of those has a slightly different story, right? Just to give you broad strokes, I mean, it's funny, in the UK and in Singapore, for instance, they don't have this issue that we have in the US of having a separate commodities and securities regulator. They just have one regulator. So for instance, the FCA in the UK, this is a total non-issue. The question about commodities and securities, it never comes up because they just have one federal regulator, so it's not politicized, right? And similarly in Singapore, that's the same issue. So each country has slightly different moments in time. Like Rishi Sunak in the UK was incredibly pro-crypto, and that government is now probably changing over. So we have to sort of, at any given moment, there's somewhere in the world where we see a big opportunity. President Milei coming in Argentina, for instance, has been super pro-crypto, right? So we just, in the global landscape, we sort of see who's in office, who's going to lean in and work with us. We grow our business there, and then when the guards change, in who's in office, we get an opportunity a few years later, and we grow it there. So we have a very long-term point of view on this. Whether it happens in any given year or decade in a certain country, we know the trend is clear long-term. Yeah, I mean, we've actually helped invite a bunch of founders to go to DC. Many of these representatives, they haven't really ever met someone in the crypto space, right? And they don't realize that, for instance, in Ohio, there's dozens of crypto entrepreneurs trying to build things in their state. And there's sort of, it's just like anything, it's a relationship. Relationships matter, right? If you're just seeing something on the internet, you don't really know if it's real. These founders are incredibly compelling in person to go meet with the representative and say, I care about this, and I'm in your district, and this is an important issue to me. We got to get this fixed, and there's just no substitute for that. So crypto is finally getting organized politically, and it's such a massive constituent of customers, shareholders, employees. They deserve to have their views represented in our government. If you haven't signed up, sign up at standwithcrypto.org.
In addition to holding meetings with senators and House representatives, Armstrong's firm, the leading cryptocurrency exchange in the United States, donated $25 million to Fairshake's super PAC, the industry's U.S. political war chest, seeking to rush many pro-crypto members into Congress to ensure suitable regulation for the industry. The lobbying money will be used to bolster the campaigns of crypto-friendly congressional candidates in upcoming state primaries. Before Coinbase, Ripple, and A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz's private venture capital firm donated $25 million to Fairshake's PAC. Jump Crypto, the developers of Solana's Firedancer, have also announced a $10 million donation to the U.S. campaign's super PAC. A recent report from Public Citizen, a consumer advocacy organization, found Fairshake and other super PACs associated with the digital assets industry have raised the third highest dollar amount of all super PACs, ahead of the 2024 election. Fairshake has spent over $11.3 million, with over $10.7 million used to campaign against Kate Porter, known for her tough stance against the cryptocurrency industry. Dusty Johnson and Josh Gottheimer, the Republican and Democratic representatives crucial in the drafting and negotiating FIT 21, have each received $122,000 for their campaigns from Fairshake. With the latest donation from Jump Crypto, Fairshake has amassed almost $169 million in lobbying money. During the discussion with Wood, Armstrong also discussed spot Bitcoin ETFs and institutional investment in Bitcoin and other digital assets. Here are more clips from the interview.
Well, I think you're correct that retail did jump into this space a little sooner over the last decade, but I'd say in just the last year or two, we've seen an incredible amount of institutional adoption, and I feel like institutions are fully in it at this point.
Really?
I mean, we released some stats in this State of Crypto report that showed 56% of the Fortune 500 executives report their company is working on something on-chain in crypto, right? And so it's the biggest companies in the world, BlackRock is helping tokenize real-world assets. JP Morgan has an on-chain project called Onyx. Google Cloud is accepting crypto payments, St. Jude's Hospital, and then fintechs like Stripe and PayPal, they're adding stablecoin support. So 56% of the Fortune 500 is doing something. I think this is really here to stay. It's already happening amongst institutions. And Coinbase can play a big role there too. Our Coinbase Prime product is the most successful in the institutional space, and we've got about a third of the top 100 hedge funds, our clients. A lot of them are also looking for that regulatory clarity moment. And I think when I talk to the institutional investors, often they'll say, once we feel like there's regulatory clarity, which will not be some moment in time, it's a gradual trend that's happening. They're like, that's what would cause us to put 5-10% of our portfolio in instead of a couple of percent.
So that's interesting, our different perceptions, because having just launched the spot Bitcoin ETF, what we've seen is none of the major platforms have approved it yet. So the flows we've seen, and they've been great, have either been just from retail or they've been donated by Grayscale. A lot of it was donated by Grayscale, but we're still waiting for an approval, even from the platforms that do tend to approve new, interesting, different financial instruments. They're waiting, and maybe all this is we need one, and then there'll be a very rapid adoption, because competitively it's going to be very important to have this new asset class, we believe, on platforms.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think you could argue we haven't really seen the real inflows happen even in ETFs, and they've already been really good. I mean, from the numbers I've seen, there's far more demand in ETFs than is being mined every day from Bitcoin, for instance, which is a positive indicator. But you're right. I think Morgan Stanley, UBS, some of these firms, they haven't really enabled the ETFs where we'll see even larger inflows in the future potentially. I don't know why that is, but the ETFs actually is an area where we did get regulatory clarity. So this will happen in bits and pieces, and I think it's an incredible first step. Each institution is different, but for instance, banks pay enormous fees to SWIFT. They don't feel that it's a very efficient system. Now, the process there's a lot of inertia, right? There's a lot of people in the United States who still pay their rent every month with a paper check. Yeah. So sometimes these changes take a little while. It's a demographic shift too, right? It's a generational thing that we're seeing. But there's a whole group of young people who are growing up today where, they're never going to have a bank account in the traditional sense with like a branch on the corner and a checkbook. Their phone is their wallet. They just want to have a primary financial account where they get paid and they can pay for things and they can just transact in a global economy. And I think increasingly they're going to use things like, there's mobile money apps, but I think crypto is a way for this younger generation to participate in something that they perceive as being more fair, more free, more global.
During the discussion with Wood, as well as in a recent interview with CNBC, Armstrong stressed the importance of using digital payment systems to revolutionize the outdated traditional banking industry. During his CNBC interview, the Coinbase CEO announced that his firm plans to roll out new features that could compel customers to use the platform as their main financial account over their traditional bank accounts. He said, "In the banking world, they do something called fractional reserve, and it has its own regulatory requirements for that. We're not intending to become a bank, but we are intending to become people's primary financial accounts. And so, the digitization of money and having mobile money on your phone is your bank account in the future." Armstrong also said that crypto adoption is quickly increasing among the biggest players in the traditional finance TradFi sector, which portends great things for the digital assets industry in the coming years. Please share your thoughts on the interview and Armstrong's predictions for the digital assets industry in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.